So can I make a motion that Heather act as our chair in this next season?
Yes, I will second that motion.
You're looking at me, but Heather is currently the vice chair. She's chairing the meeting.
So Ms. Heather, are you willing to do that? You do it so well.
Oh, thank you. Sure, I will do that. Yes. So motion by Kathy and second by Lynn to put Heather, myself as the chair of the board. All in favor?
I
Any opposition? Okay. Passed unanimously.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we've got the meeting minutes of December 7th. I had just one small thing, and that was, I believe it's in, I can't have my Zoom screen and the document up at the same time, but I recall that I believe it's 4.4 section and talking about presenting to the County Board of Commissioners. We just need to add an S on commissioner. Are you seeing where that is?
Yeah. It's in line 2
Right,
of the third bullet point under 4.1.
correct.
Are you seeing my screen now, Heather?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right. So it's 4.1, the third bullet point, second line, annual reports to the Board of County Commissioners with an S on the end. Other than that, that's all I saw. Did anyone else have any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Oh,
Lynn, was that you? Did you see anything?
I wasn't at the meeting, so I can't comment on anything.
I know you were on the beach.
I was.
Good
So
job.
happy.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay, so as corrected, do we have a motion to accept these minutes from the December 7th meeting?
so moved.
Okay, second? Okay. Any opposition? Okay. Accepted with that one correction. And now. Can you move your screen up, Sarah, so I can see the agenda?
Sure.
Cool. Thank you, great. Okay, new business. Infographic. Holy smokes, that thing is great. Well done, Sarah and Thea, everybody who contributed to creating that fantastic snapshot.
So I did find I went through it with a fine-tooth comb this afternoon and found a few errors that will be corrected. And so I just want to let you know what those are. Under the library of things, I noticed that the numbers were the same as exact same as last year for checkouts, which I knew could not be accurate. So I updated those. So Hoodland actually had 64 library of things checkouts and Sandy had 1,102. And then mobile printing, there was an error in the spreadsheet where it was doing sums. I looked at those numbers and thought Sandy and Hoodland are really close on this, which wasn't accurate. So Hoodland had 157 patrons, 497 print jobs, and 1,681 pages printed.
Wow.
Sandy had 291 patrons, 990 print jobs. That's great. Further down the sheet. And 2,765 pages printed with mobile printing.
The mobile printing, you had that much activity.
Yeah.
Wow,
That's great.
it's a good service then.
Yeah,
I
I
was
think I know what mobile printing is.
so you can send an email with an attachment from your device and then come into the library and log into the computer, the print release computer with your email address. And then just print your items off.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Like, so when I do, I'm listening to All Creatures Great and Small
Mhm.
on my audio book. I got it through Libby,
Yeah,
and so where does that show up? Is that
that's part of
count
this.
towards to your credit, even though if it's like from Clackamas County or Multnomah?
If it's Clackamas County, if you did it through the Clackamas County Libby, then it would be in Sandy's numbers. But if you did it through Multnomah, then it would be in Multnomah County.
All right.
just wondering how you calculated the overall data. On the value per capita, just how do you price things to come up with a?
There is a library calculator. That is, I got through the PLA website, I believe. So it has all of the checkouts and programming for kids, teens and adults. Printing services or using a computer is in there. I had to add in take and make costs manually because that's kind of a newer thing. But yeah, if you go and look at the PLA, and I could send out the website address later if you want it. You
That's
could
just wondering how, what you had used and.
Yeah.
And what a source would be to do that type of calculation.
Yeah. So I think I had to add in the take and makes and computer, I don't think computer use was. There was something that wasn't in there, but I found another calculator that calculated it. So I added all of those numbers in there and that's what came up with the totals. So it's on the second page of the infographic that we're talking about. And it's this overall value.
Right.
Yeah. Me too. So there's a value per capita for this is Sandy and this is Hoodland. And then a value per user based on our number of users at the end of 2022. And then the total value of services for that year.
Wow.
For Sandy and Hoodland. So for 1 year, Sandy's budget is about $1.5 million. So that is almost twice.
It's almost 2x.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there isn't some way that we can. As we look towards the future and we have to keep educating the citizen on how the library is funded, its various sources of support, including, very prominently putting the Friends support and how essential that is. That we need a graphic at some point teaching the public on how their library services are paid and then showing, that if you calculate it out, the benefit comes to X. So think about that at some point. Sir, the other thing I just wanted to observe is I was on the library city page the other day because I was doing some research for Sarah and I was looking at some old minutes from 2008, 2007, 2009, and so I'm on the library page. The library page has no link to the newsletter, there's no link to the blog. And that seems a loss of advertising on our part and letting the public know what events they could be participating in. So I don't know how you go about doing that, but that seemed like a very good place for it to be actually a direct link on that page.
thinking we could add it to each program page. I'll have to figure it out because it's sort of,
Why couldn't it just be, you know, how the city webpage, I don't know if you could bring it up, but you know, it has all the links to the side and everything. It should be in the body
Yes.
of the library page. It
When you go
should
to
be,
library,
you know, if you'd like to see, you know, some upcoming events, you know, click on the newsletter or click on our blog.
well, are the events on there?
No,
well, there are events pages for all of the events. Or there's an adult programs page, a teen programs page, and a kids programs page on the Sandy website. So all of the events are on there.
I must see how, when I was working the page, maybe it's a browser issue.
On the left-hand side, Kath.
Right, and does that show the calendar of all events?
You have to click on library programs, isn't it, Sarah? How it shows up?
Why don't we go
Yeah.
look at it?
Yeah. I agree with you though, Kathy. I think we could definitely flesh out our library page. And do we have a sign up place for the newsletter here on this page? I don't recall if we do.
There is a sign up.
If it is, it's way deep.
It may be in the staff blog. Anyway, here are all of the upcoming adult programs on the webpage.
Okay, so you went to library events and clicked on,
Adult library programs.
okay,
I mean, we could certainly put something up here maybe
Yep.
on each page with a link to the blog and a link to the newsletter.
Mhm.
It can't be on the main page.
Well, if we
It can't be
just,
in the body of the text of the main
we
page.
don't, all we have is our hours on the main page.
But it seems like a perfect spot to have a box over the right saying, you know, here's our monthly newsletter. And
Don't miss your monthly newsletter. Sign up here.
Yeah, it's problematic. You have to add things as documents and, yeah.
it's the framework
Um,
to deal with.
So, but I will chat with Mo and see what we can do.
there's also, I mean, what I see is you could put, you know, Hoodland Library to the right in 2 columns.
You know, yeah, it doesn't have the option for columns. Unless you, I mean, we could very specifically code it, but then if somebody has a device, it won't,
Well, layout, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it won't be mobile friendly.
Yeah, but there are some, of course, limitations.
Just above the hours, just put, you know, Sandy newsletter with a link to it and whatever the other thing that you were going for,
The blog,
blog.
yeah.
Or a sign up right there saying, you know, if you'd like to,
Yeah.
if you'd like to receive it. Here's the monthly newsletter, and if you'd like to receive it.
Right.
Sorry, it's just
No,
something
that's
I
a good-
noticed. when I-
that's a good thought. Do we have any other thoughts on, is there any part of this that's difficult for you to read or to understand what it's about? Does everything make sense to you?
So on the library of things, some of these things I noticed that are on our site are like pickup in Wilsonville and stuff. Are those, do we get credit if somebody can hear?
Only the ones that are pickup Sandy can check out at Sandy. So you have to drive to Wilsonville to get anything from Wilsonville. So no,
And return it there.
yeah,
Well, one thing, Sarah, just as you were talking about the per capita value and so on,
Mhm.
that could be spun into a great, I'll just say some kind of a promo bit that if you're not using your library, you're missing out on, you know, hundreds of dollars of value in services and something or other.
Right.
Can you go back to the website?
And I would like to see the snapshot, Sarah. I would love to see it. Actually, or I don't know how it would translate in print, but if we could get Brittany to, what do you think about this? If we could get Brittany to put it in the post?
She might do parts of it. She probably wouldn't do it as the infographic, but she might do like the top, library of things checked out and the top
Yeah.
authors and the top subject areas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So scroll down to, if you could, to. So upcoming events, okay, see, when I go, I don't know, on my phone, when I go to upcoming events, it's like,
Do you have to click on view the library calendar to see all of them?
oh,
Or you
then it
can-
says latest news. It's
Okay.
like, 4/25, 22.
Yeah, that's one, unfortunately, that you have to change.
That's, it's like when I see stuff that's
Very
like
manual.
last year, it kind of always looks bad on a
Yeah.
website.
I will point it out to Mo and we'll try to get some new things in there.
That's the alternative way is, can't you just do the link to the blog there? Maybe instead of manually updating something like that,
That's true. We could, well,
can you link the blog or can you link the newsletter or book?
that would be,
Both.
yeah.
yeah. And then just update it each month.
Well, we wouldn't even have to update it each month if it was just going to the,
Yeah.
That's true. Yep, right.
well, the newsletter we would have to.
Yes.
But the blog we wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
Yeah, I like that. Inform. And how about on our Facebook page? If we could do something like you're saying, Sarah, with that, Brittany could possibly do. I like that idea of pulling off the real big ones. And also like with the programs, did you know that we had 368 programs in Sandy and we had however many we had in Hoodland? And that we had, almost 1,200 people attending, et cetera. I mean, that's the kind of thing that Alex knows this, but marketing wise, it's like there is a bit of FOMO that you need to work with at times, which is fear of missing out. And so people see, oh my God, they had 368 programs in Sandy. I didn't, how do I learn about these programs? How come my kids weren't there?
I wonder if Brittany would consider doing the infographics, like instead of a photograph.
Yeah.
She might consider it.
Mhm.
Which Brittany?
Brittany Allen is the,
Yes, okay.
the local.
Okay.
She actually prefers to go by Brit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware.
Okay, and then also, likewise with Garth, have him put this in the Times. Or parts thereof, right?
Mhm.
Call it a friendly library annual report.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Here's what we did in 2023, too.
Yeah.
Because there's so much information on this, Sarah, that's so great. And to
Mhm.
see that, I mean, Alex might have an idea, but how many people up in the mountain communities don't even know that there's a library up there?
I feel like I see people constantly asking for like where to get things or where to print things, and they just don't even realize that there's an option where you can send it to the library and print it. I feel like I constantly see people talking about this on social media, and yeah, a lot of people, especially my age, just are not utilizing the resources that are up here.
What I find is that we post a lot of stuff on Facebook, like on the city website. If you want to get people to know about it, WTF and Sandy. Sandy information.
Yeah.
Two sites that have, you know, most everybody on there.
Mhm.
And you get a lot of, especially that WTF one, gets a lot of people complaining or whatever, and I just ignore all the neg bobs, but. You know, those are, you know, to kind of go on there, and I'm willing to do it, kind of go on there and say, you know, hey, I just rented, you know, a sewing machine the other day. Did you know that you could do this, you know, having some of us just kind of plant those little things about programs that and offerings and all are just a great way to get the word out and. You know, it really reaches a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, great idea. And also, yeah, that could be part of everybody's job description, being a board member.
I think on the mountain next door is one of the places that you really get stuff out, and it's not enough to say here's the newsletter, but you go. Right, it's like picking the item each time and
Planting a seed, you know,
Yeah,
hey, the
yeah.
seed paddock, hey,
Mhm.
you know. I mean, it's so many wonderful things, you guys.
Yeah,
do.
But could, if you posted this image of the infographic, would that disseminate?
I don't know, Alex, do you know more about next door than I do? I don't normally see images, it's just commentary and somebody posts something and then.
I'm actually not on Nextdoor, so this is the area of expertise I have none in. So I am not on Nextdoor.
So I am, and we've got a lot of active groups in the Sandy area. I mean, it's a pretty hot platform, truly.
Yeah,
And I would say, as more of a guess, I mean, if people are, which they are, posting their picture of their kitten that was last seen outside at, 9 o'clock at night or whatever. I mean, is this a PDF, Sarah, or what's the format on this snapshot?
It could be a PDF, it can be a PNG, we can make it a JPEG, we can basically make it any sort of a picture.
It's not a lot
Okay.
of visual space. But, you know, I look at it on my laptop and it's small. You can put a picture of it and you write the bear sitting on your woodshed. To me, not so long ago. You can post a picture like that, but whether or not you could read an infographic, I'm not at all sure.
Can you click on the picture? Does it get larger when you click on it? Some sites have the ability for you to do that.
Have to check
Mhm.
and see. Okay. But it's something, Alex, in the women's club, you see more and more of that happening now that we have people posting for our monthly luncheon. Hey, we're having the lunch, here's what it is, and it's very specific things that remind us that it's.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I think people glaze over.
Well, one of the things that I see posted a lot on Nextdoor are folks, they are going that just move or new to the area. They are going to Nextdoor as a resource to learn about this new area to them. And, hey, whether it's a referral for, hey, I need snow tires, where should I go? Or, gee, Jason did this great such and such repair work and remodel, and I can't recommend him enough, and here's his name and here's his, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious to know if Nextdoor has a service organization or like a nonprofit sector member type of designation, because certainly as an individual, yes, but they also have business. You can, have a business page on there. So I'd be curious to find that out.
No, Heather, isn't it that next door is just like a certain little neighborhood?
Yes.
Correct.
And it's limited, and you don't live in there, you don't even get to see it or
For us. Hoodland is a little neighborhood. So nice way to look at.
Right, yeah, right. So there are, I mean, what's interesting is that, when I'm not on there a lot, but, what I have seen is, I just the other day when I was on the site saw someone advertising for their, construction remodel, and they're in the Kelly Creek neighborhood, quote unquote, which is actually Gresham. So there are different areas that are kind of around, that will show up. So.
I don't think that they have, I mean, I was on Nextdoor originally. And could post things up about the library, and then they shut down all government things on the site, from my understanding. So
Oh.
I don't know that they're, I mean,
Oh, that's interesting, because I've seen the county posts on our next door itself.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll look again and see.
I
if
would
there's a
double
way-
check, Sarah.
There might be a way for the city itself to sign up for Nextdoor.
I tried to sign, I'm not on there, I tried to post something on one of them, and you're not in the neighborhood, and then it said, so then I went to Sandy Bluff one, and like, it wouldn't let me on there, even though I live on Bluff Road, but I'm not, in Sandy Bluff, I'm on Bluff Road, right across the street from it, so. But basically it told me I had to start my own, and I'm like, well, I don't want to do that.
So you couldn't join the Bluff neighborhood group?
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, I was just like, I don't know, I wasn't impressed, but then they keep sending me emails and stuff to. So I don't quite understand next door yet.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah. I'll look into it again. It was quite a while ago that they shut down government agencies.
I was invited in, so if somebody sends you an email saying, hey, join this, and. Don't know if that's a requirement, but it is, I mean, I use it for exactly the way Heather says, if you want a recommendation for work you want doing or something like that. The Park District used it a great deal. Very animated discussions on that. There's currently very animated discussions on the lack of action from Clackamas County on the short-term rental problem in Hoodland.
Well, I was gonna ask you, where you had that signage issue in front of the library, how did word get out about that? What was the venue to get that word out?
I think they posted it on Facebook. We did a Kickstarter and then they posted it.
But I'm trying to think how I do that.
I know that I saw that largely because my friend shared the post, and that's one of the biggest.
Yeah, maybe that was it. People were.
Yeah. That's how I knew about it, encouraging other people to share our posts and having.
Yeah,
people want
yeah.
to share.
And then Alex, are you on Instagram?
Oh yeah, I'm on personally, when I was on Nextdoor, I found it to be a very negative place. So
It can be, it can be.
So I quit a while ago because it was just too much negativity for me. So I am on every other platform though.
Well, the only other thing I was thinking of is could people take screenshots of portions of this infographic and send out a note saying, gosh, did you know that the library of things checkouts, the two local libraries are this many things? I mean, don't show the whole thing, but try to pick a portion.
Mm-hmm.
But the section you had upcoming events and Barbara Avila speaking on autism and her book and so on. Those individual things, that's a great Facebook post or a Nextdoor post, coming this coming up now.
Right.
She's also speaking of events about next one.
Yeah. I think Thea creates an event for all of our programs that are coming up. So
Yeah.
Right.
Well, good ideas, everybody. Thank you. Well done on that, Sarah and Thea and whoever all contributed to that. Zoe.
Will these be posted in a large size in the lobbies?
we could do like 11 by 17. Was that going to be large enough, do you think?
I think this catches an eye as someone's walking by or walking
Totally.
the library. I think you should do a visual, not just on the screen, but something that someone could stand in front of and look at.
I was gonna do handouts that people can walk away with.
Oh, better.
So it would be probably double-sided,
Yeah.
an 8.5 by 11.
Mhm.
So we could post large ones or even just 8.5 by 11s and then have a folder next to it with ones that you can take home. Because it's so fascinating.
That is your graphic.
Thea does our graphics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Was finding an empty space in the Hoodland Library might be.
Well, we can do it.
No crowded in there.
Yeah. Maybe on the ends of one of the shelves.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear some comments from Cheyenne. I hope we can maybe solicit those from her via email or something after she's had a chance to check out the snapshot, the infographic.
Mm,
Well, and reading some of the meeting notes from this discussion.
right, right.
Okay, anything else on the infographic?
Nope.
And how to toot our horn out there? Okay, old business, LDAC update, please, Miss Kathy.
Say this one's a bit of a challenge. Quite figure out the right word to describe the last meeting. Emotions were not ever voted on. Now, that is in part because I tabled them. But there was no core adoption of the concepts. It did provoke a discussion to try to revitalize the idea of taking the district's task force forward without using the task force, because everybody knows that the task force was frankly incredibly cumbersome format. But the idea of actually getting the commissioners to address the three subjects that I was hoping that they would give us clarification on, which was capital reserves, differing methods of overhead cost allocation, and then payment of debt by one of the libraries. Nobody wanted to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I did ask that the text of my motions be included in the minutes of this meeting, because I want there to be a record that these subjects were raised.
Right.
There was only one other library that was indicated some willingness to go forward with it, but it wasn't enough. I couldn't get a big enough cord together to push it forward. So the Commissioner Savas, who attends our meetings, said that he would like the opportunity to use the next approximately 60 days to see if he can revitalize the concept of readdressing the district. And with Sarah's input, the concept of using a consultant instead of trying to get 120 people in a room to work with each other was actually of interest to people, although everybody was very worried about the cost component. But that is, I think, one of the things that Savas will look into. The fear had been at LDAC, we had been getting word back, and this came to us from our directors, that it seemed that the commissioners did just not want to talk about Library District 2.0, right? They don't want to go out for a vote, we were told. The city managers don't want to go out for a vote on, an extra tax rate. that nobody seemed to want to do any of this, but we're starting to get different feedback, and I'll give that to you. First of all, Savas said he doesn't think the cities, as they start to get a bigger budget crunch, are going to want to be so hampered on what they can do with their libraries. And that, you know, if they see that the libraries can be self-sustaining, because a third of the libraries actually get additional city cash, and that, you know, maybe that will motivate the cities to reevaluate this question, that the city managers would be reluctant about having a tax rate vote on a ballot. The other thing that happened this last week was, and this is, I'm going slightly off topic, but not entirely. The Board of County Commissioners voted on Wednesday, the 26th, whatever that was, Thursday, I guess, last week, to allocate $8 million from a county general fund carryover to complete the funding of the Gladstone and the Oak Lodge Library construction. Now, that was a total surprise to some of us. You know, the Gladstone and the Oak Lodge people were hoping for this, but because the county had been claiming that, oh, it didn't have any extra money and the courthouse is costing them so much, and, you know, everybody has to be crunching their budget down, you know, by 8 to 10%. We've been getting this poverty cry, and then all of a sudden, this $8 million is available.
And that's in addition to the millions they've already.
Yes, this is in addition to the ARPA money that they've already received. So in the part of that discussion and that vote, which was a unanimous vote, all of the commissioners voted in favor of it. There was a comment by Chairman Smith to the effect of, and she was worried about long-term maintenance on the other buildings, and had that been built into the budget? Well, no, it hadn't yet. She said, well, it had been on for the courthouse, and that is something they should be doing. And that maybe it would be possible to go out for some extra millage on the district for purposes of maintenance. Now, this is the first we've heard of this. So, you know, maybe this idea of the library district reconsideration is actually getting some traction to it. It's very hard to tell exactly what's going on in all these different fora right now, but it's possible it will start moving forward, but it will be slow. But nothing is going to happen on those three motions for sure. So that's the LDAC report. Actually, Sarah, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, there was a discussion towards the end of the meeting about the network budget.
Yes.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
The directors had wanted us to bring the network budget up because it is something very near and dear to their heart. So at the moment, network is funded entirely out of the general fund. That was one of the deals when the library district was founded, was that if the cities were willing to take on the management of all the service areas, that county would continue to fund the network office, which runs right now at about $3.5 million, give or take. And they are the guts, right? They take care of the common software, the whole distribution of information that happens electronically throughout the systems. They transport all the holds that go between all of the libraries, all the books that go between all of the libraries. You know, they are the glue that makes the district work. And there had been talk again, starting in July and September, of the administration wanting network to reconsider its budget and pull maybe 8 to 10% off of its costs. And nothing has been finalized. And so the directors wanted us in LDAC to address this issue and to tell the county that this isn't something that they should be playing with. There's a service requirement in the contracts, which said that network would continue to operate and provide the services equivalent to the services that had been provided as of 2007, 2008. When that was negotiated, I think what the county had wanted initially was that it would be a monetary cap. And everyone in the system said, no, this can't be a monetary cap. This has to be a services standard. Of course, the services, technologically have changed significantly in the last 15 years, but they're still of the nature that had been agreed to back then. So it was quite clear to Commissioner Savas that LDAC does not want these services affected negatively at all. And then, of course, there is the standard phrase, and by the way, when you go and get your library district 2.0, why don't you lard in the cost of network, which at $3.5 million would mean that it would mean an extra 3 to 5 cents on the tax rate just to cover network without it bringing any new money into the district itself. So, that in itself is not an easy thing to achieve, but that was one of the comments that was raised. And it would be wise if the populace would vote for a higher tax rate, that would be desirable. So our current tax rate is 39 cents and change. 39.46 or something like that. One of the other directors pointed out that Curry County, a conservative county, currently pays 62 cents. Of course, it's probably one of the few services that's available in Curry County, at least in the, we get 62 cents. One other thing that was raised at the Board of County Commissioners meeting is that Savas has been arguing with the commissioners for a while, saying, when Measure 50 was passed, the library levy amount was larded into the general fund. And this is all, the technicalities that came out of Measure 50. But effectively, those dollars that used to be collected for the libraries back in the late 90s got put into the general fund. And then what the county did for 8 years or so was they actually distributed that same amount of money back out to the libraries. But then they stopped. But that amount of money that came out of that library levy is still technically going into the general fund. And it's one of Savas's arguments for why the county continues to owe library services out of the general fund in some way, shape, or form. Outside of the district money. So Commissioner Smith said that she's always fought Savas on this point, but she actually said that she had asked the tax assessor to go back and do the analysis on whether that was true or not, and to report back to the commissioners. So to me, that might be an argument for where network should be paid out of, rather than taking it out of the district revenue, that should be allocated to network. But that's a discussion to be had in the future.
I'm just, thank you for all of that, Kathy and Sarah. And I'm just wondering if we can kind of do a recap for Alex to a very brief recap as far as what the heck is LDAC and network, and we're
Right.
in the know, if you will, of what these parts are, but I'm sure Alex is going, what the heck? So
do you want a private tutorial on that, Alex, or do you want the 5-minute version?
I mean, I feel like I get a general sense of what we're discussing, so I think the 5-minute version might really help me. I have been
Okay.
taking notes too, so.
So in 2008, a library district was approved by the voters by a 62% vote that covers basically the county, divided into service areas that are administered by what are called library cities. And the city of Sandy is responsible for both the Sandy service area and the Hoodland service area. And Hoodland is managed by the city of Sandy, but all of Hoodland's money is retained for use in the Hoodland area. What we call LDAC is the Library District Advisory Committee, and each library sends a representative to this organization, which is supposed to advise the Library District Board, which is the Board of County Commissioners. They just wear two hats. But frankly, we don't advise them very much. We learned that there are 70 districts of service districts in the county. So basically, the board has way too many to keep track of any individual ones. So what we do is we actually are a sounding board for the district. All of the communities come together and the directors attend with the representative, and we hash out issues that are of common concern in terms of administration or management. And the reason why this issue that I had brought up these motions had to do with whether all the libraries were comporting with the standards that we're supposed to be meeting under this framework that we have, which has some ambiguities in it that need to be fixed.
Got it.
So is that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'll learn more as we keep going too.
Yes, yes, you will.
Yeah.
You will. But it's
Thank
not
you.
always hyperactive. It's just that in the before COVID hit, we were in the process of trying to attack some of these governance and funding issues. And then COVID hit and everything went to a total standstill. So we're just starting to get our feet back under ourselves.
Question if I could.
Yes, sir.
The other meeting you were talking about bringing up Hoodland Library, getting some money
Yes.
to pay the rent because nothing's happening. Did anything happen?
Yes.
No.
I'll let Lynn.
Wait, let's just
Yeah,
talk about
I'm
this.
sorry, I didn't
No, it's coming up, Dale.
have it. I'm just curious.
So at the end of the meeting, I asked Commissioner Savas, when would be the appropriate time for library people to attend
Yes.
Board of County Commissioners meetings to advocate for no cuts to the network budget ultimately. And he didn't give me any answer. I said, I was like, so, when would the appropriate time be for library people to go so that we don't just inundate every meeting? And he said, he ended up saying, I don't mind seeing library people at every meeting. So that was his answer. So, but I do feel like we somehow need to mobilize people to advocate for libraries before the budget is set for the county.
Are they preparing the budget now
Yes.
for starting when? When will that budget
Towards
start?
July 1, yeah.
Okay.
The July 1 fiscal year. So,
It's all of March, right?
we did ask the director of the department that she's the interim director, I guess is the right way. She happened to attend the last LDAC meeting. We asked, well, what's the timetable? When are these things going to be coming to have a more coherent form, so we'll know exactly what is actually happening, and then everybody's obfuscating on this. Well, we haven't really had a chance to meet yet, and the numbers are being crunched. And the budget committee, I think, generally meets in April to make the recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners that then votes on it probably in May. I think is the approximate schedule. So
I would say they start giving them an indication of what they need to be shooting for, like you better start shooting for an 8% decrease, blah, blah, blah. Put your budget, because it's an iterative process going back and forth. And I'm sure they're, if they haven't been given the target of what they're supposed to be shooting for yet, they're going to be getting it here in the next few weeks.
oh, I think they've been given their target. The problem is what the county people were trying to tell us is just because they've been given a target doesn't mean that it is in fact what will happen.
Right.
So we shouldn't be attacking them based on a potential target when in fact, perhaps nothing will happen. So this was the obfuscation that was going on.
But my point is that you want to have the target moved or removed or amended or whatever, rather than this, we'll, try to get it changed, because the further along it goes down the process of things getting, the harder it is to revise it. And so trying to get that motivation of getting, mobilization of people, to the next couple meetings would be really important to have, and have some sort of a handout and, whatever.
Right.
When you have a presentation, I know you usually get 3 minutes of something in front of them, but just even having a few bullet points of, why it's needed and all, especially if you could get everybody on the same page. Because, I think would be really helpful to have the other folks, especially the ones that got money, but also just everybody instead of just Sandy. Because I don't want us, it's not to say we shouldn't, but I think it's more effective when you have a bunch of people.
Right.
I think the directors, if I can just chime in here, is because we're not having another LDAC meeting until end of April. So a lot of this stuff will have already happened, right? Is the directors are going to have to pick a day in maybe March. And every director should have one of their board members attending the BCC meeting.
I was sort of thinking about trying to get a email list of all of the library board members in the county so that we could, I don't know who would email everyone. But
Why can't the directors make a decision that they will all go to a meeting and each commit to having somebody from their board or their LDAC representative with them?
okay, I will, I'll make a motion at our next directors group meeting.
Because I think you will be the essential people, the directors, with their board member.
I think that citizens are going to be listened to more than staff members within the cities. So I don't, as a director, I probably wouldn't speak. But if we can get citizens like you to go.
I think it's really helpful to know, what do you call the thing that, the center, the thing that's getting defunded? The
network.
Yeah, the network. I don't know, I have no idea I understand what that is, but I don't understand what it means that, okay, if it's cut by whatever millions of dollars, that what does that mean for me as a library patron or you?
Right.
And so having bullet points, and if that means it's gonna be longer to rent a book or I don't know. I just say
Longer to receive a whole.
so the big thing though is I think it's important to say, at least from where I'm sitting, is the cities cannot be making up that difference. So at least, from the city of Sandy, we aren't gonna have a bunch of money to kind of say, oh, we'll, fill in the gap there in the county, don't worry about it, stand down we'll take care of it and take it to check. So I don't know, I'm sure that's probably the case in most of the other cities, except maybe the really, you know, fairly well-off ones. but-
Maybe the ones that be getting the millions.
Well, yeah, now that they have the capital covered, they can.
But actually, the sad thing is that this isn't something that the cities can pick up. It's the way the system is organized. These were tasks that have been segregated. They have been given their own structure, and they therefore need to operate with integrity to work.
Yes.
And it's not where the cities, you know, can really let in other than $70, you know,
$70,
potentially, you know, but since we have a service standard.
Yeah.
That is the
It's
relevant.
maintaining the
Yeah,
service.
but articulating what that reduction in services or the consequences are of this.
It's hard to know because the county won't release any information or won't let the network office release any information about what is considered, what they're considering.
Yeah.
In the cuts. Because none of it is set in stone yet.
Right.
So, I mean, Rick, the network director, is in a really tough place. He's working with this budget, trying to figure out what he can do. And he can't tell us what he's gonna try to do because the county won't let them, we won't let him. Which makes sense.
It's public information. I mean, it's,
Well,
you know, where's the
main-
transparency there of, you know?
Well, it's a planning issue right now, right? Now, here's the other curiosity. Commissioner Savas says at the meeting, you know, in the grand scheme of things, the $3 million budget isn't a whole lot of money.
I know, that's.
You know, so you know, and so, you know, maybe nothing will happen. And then meanwhile, they find this $8 million by using carryover money. This is, we're having a lot of dissonance going on right now.
Yeah. Let's not get everybody all in a tizzy over $3.5 million. I mean, sure they can, especially if you're talking about 8 or 10% of that, that's,
Yeah.
you know, $350,000. Small potatoes.
Yeah.
But it brings us to the Hoodland Rent.
Small potatoes.
Yes, I will make a motion at the directors group meeting that we figure out a way to mobilize.
Well,
citizens.
pick a date. And then that each person be responsible for bringing 2 or 3 people
Mhm.
or getting 2 or 3 people to that meeting and to have a coherent message.
Mhm.
And is Paul Savas able to ask the question about what the, you know, consequences are to the network folks with reduced budget? Did he ask that question and get an answer? That'd be a question to ask him directly.
Yeah.
Okay. What about rent?
You want to go with that?
What
one?
about rent?
For our dear Hoodland. Any update on that memo, letter,
No,
etc.?
because I think you had the response from Administrator Schmidt before December, is that correct?
Meeting, right?
No, we did not have,
No.
that's what we need to bring up. But we had to schedule the meeting.
Yeah.
Because Jordan had a conflict.
It was to be January the 11th, now it's February the 16th.
Right, so
But-
we will be meeting.
But we had sent the memo and the request, and this was the administrator's response in December. Expecting the January meeting, happy to meet, but I want to respond to your. Reviewed your request, the Clackamas County pay Hoodland Library's rent from county general funds. And understand you believe Hoodland should receive additional funds. However, the county's obligation to Hoodland Library were completed with the completion of our responsibilities under the capital IGA with the city of Sandy. As such, county has no obligation to pay Hoodland Library's rent. I don't want to dispute how county funds have been spent on other libraries. In obtaining additional funding, but the fact that the county has different funding arrangements with other libraries does not create any contractual obligation with the Hoodland Library. I'm sharing this information with the Board of County Commissioners so they're aware of this request and my response, which is the politest way of saying none of your business.
But we are still meeting.
But we are still meeting, so we'll go. Since then, we reached out to Commissioner Shaw to ask if we could meet with him ahead of time and sent him the memo and everything. And he has said, let's go ahead with the meeting and let's discuss after that. And remember, you can always come to business meeting. So it was, you know, against. So that's where we sit. You know, as a resident of Hoodland, I'm a little offended, but that's mainly because as we talked in our meeting, you know, we all pay the same rate for our library services. We just don't all get the same service. And in Hoodland, that counts for the sheriff, it counts for everything, for county services. We pay the same taxes, we don't get the same services. And I looked up how close Gladstone and Oak Grove are, and they're 2.7 miles apart. And I'm like, why are you funding two libraries? Anyway, that's just me. But it seemed like a very difficult position, and it's such a small amount of money, $450 a month. So you have a local business owner clearly heavily discounting her rent that she would normally charge to the library. And it's just, I don't know, it just feels like it's an insignificant amount of money in the county scheme of things. And he's correct, there is no contractual obligation, but in the spirit of equality and equity, it would be worth looking at.
To give you an example, Alex, the Hoodland rent per year is somewhere around $20,000. We're talking about $20,000, which would be a significant amount of money for Hoodland to be able to spend on materials and programming, and a very small amount of money coming out of the county coffers.
Just some basic. But and this is the library board, but in the Hoodland Senior Center has just completed the negotiations to extend its lease for another 2 years. The county charges almost nothing, but it's the issues of, there is a community up there, and there's Hoodland, and then of course government county, the same thing, yeah,
Okay.
but it's, whether it's short-term rentals, whether it's whatever it is, it has such a big effect on this small community. That beginning to see ramifications across, and it would be really nice and would be very well appreciated for it to feel like the county was listening to this far eastern piece of its territory. Because right now, I don't feel that. On the short-term rental meeting, Commissioner Shaw came and he was very responsive to the neighborhood concerns. There's a huge number of short-term rentals in this small area. It's a vacation area. When my children went to school, it was there were 600 students in that school, and I just looked it up there now, 279, because the real estate is being taken up by second homes and short-term rentals. The county is disinclined to do anything about it at the moment because they would put a fee. Well, we don't have money to manage the fee and so on. It all kind of snowballs together. So even though this is, you know, 20,000 for the library, it's a small step to say, sort of, what are you doing for the community? There is no building. And so, you know, we do what we can. And obviously, I mean, I think the Bowmans did a great job. I was shocked at how little the rent was. And it's, you know, that's on them, but it's, I just feel that they should do a little bit more. And I was saying at the short-term rental meeting, Commissioner Shaw was suggesting penalties for the folks who don't obey the rules, which is quite a number of them, unfortunately. And somebody pointed out, well, you know, how do you think that's going to happen? Because the 2 hours it's going to take for a sheriff to show up. No offense, officer, but it's the truth. We all know that there's nowhere that somebody could be staying. I mean, we feel very put upon.
Well, there's, you know, there are some ways to deal with the consequences and the enforcement of documenting it even after the fact and then, because there's, you can get them removed off of Airbnb. I mean, there are some ways to kind of deal with some of that.
There are, but they have not been very effective. And like everything, it's not black and white. There are local companies who manage short-term rentals and do a very good job because they're local. And if you call them and say, he's naked in the hot tub again, they'll come over. But there are also companies, beginning with the letter B, who has a terrible reputation that they don't respond. They don't. Silly stuff. Like, you can't just send your cleaners in, back up the garbage and put it outside, or buy the garbage cans, because there's only weekly garbage and we're bear country. So you just can't do it. So they're just little nitpicky things, but the meeting is not about that. The meeting is just about the library, but it's a little bit, it's like, we'd like you to consider this. It's an insignificant amount of money that would make a big difference and would show willing. I'd also like to see, do you have a roadmap going forward of what could be done? Community centers, something.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I would say the letter was definitely provoked by the legal department. But maybe worse, I don't know.
Well, one option is to just ask for short term, for like, we'd like this. We just, or, because they don't want to start something that then is, forever. And so you say, well, for the next 5 years, $40,000 for the next 5 years, we get that. Maybe something like that, if, to kind of, 'cause,
Ease them in gradually to the idea.
And then can we renew that contract or that intergovernmental agreement?
Yeah.
Well, by then too, there might be a new library district variant, which might solve some of the problems or so. It should be viewed as argued on an interim basis pending. Pending development. Yeah.
I did reach out to try and find out where the requests for the land from the old Women's Club, Hoodland Center area. After the Park District failed, the fire department is requesting that the county give it to them because we need a firehouse. Anyway, that seems to be somewhat in limbo. They don't have a definitive answer, and the chair of that committee told me that Judy Smith had said, well, we've had another offer. But it seems to be.
But then it's parking for timberline.
For timberline, yes. And
So my argument there would be, fine, you're getting cash out of something that is from the,
Selling this property to timberline for parking. Yeah.
from the Hoodland area, let's put some of that money into a building that benefits the Hoodland community. Repurpose the dollars.
I think money in that just, it's the operation and maintenance is kind of the, it's one thing to give the building, to build the building, but to operate and maintain it is the.
That's why paying rent is a great solution for them.
So Lynn, I have a question for you and actually a request. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to type out a transcript of that response and get it to Sarah so that we could have that as part of the minutes, and then also so that all the board members could.
I think you all had it.
I already have it. I can add it into the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
It was the email response
It was the email response, yeah.
to our message.
You don't. But it went to
Okay.
there, so I can send it to you, Alex.
I didn't see it either, maybe send it.
Oh, okay.
Kind of snarky. I mean, just like.
Very snarky.
These
Like,
guys, everything they want doesn't mean we have to give you.
I know, I think, like I said, it was a business speak of none of your business. And like, really? It's all county money.
mhm.
You should, Lynn did a great job in what she sent to Commissioner Scholl, because he asked that,
Well, Kathleen wrote the
okay,
comments.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Basically, we said, we know we don't have a contractual claim here. It's an equitable claim.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that the citizens of Hoodland are entitled to be treated in the same way as any other incorporated resident.
Yep.
But I have to say, and I looked up how close are those two libraries, 2.7 miles.
They're gonna have two libraries now.
They've received between them.
Well, Gladstone has received $6 million of ARPA money. Oak Lodge has received $9 million of ARPA money. And this extra $8 million is primarily for Oak Lodge, but there might be some dollars that are going to go to Gladstone. And then they also receive some state ARPA money, not of huge dollars. I think that was about $500,000 between the two of them to let them get them through the planning stage. It's a lot of bucks.
How are they gonna operate and maintain it?
Library district money. They have the
They have
library
enough?
district money, yeah.
Right, do they have enough to operate two libraries?
Yeah,
They have been doing, I mean, they have two libraries.
they have two libraries, but they were too small.
So one big one would seem something.
Yes.
It's just, you know, when you're 18 miles away, plus Covey, and you know, you can fund it for that close together, that's just silly.
Well, that was the original idea, Lynn, long ago.
And the other part of the memo, which was, it's also the Happy Valley situation.
Right, right. We used two, you saw the memo, didn't you, Kathleen? I think you
Yeah,
sent the memo, right. So we have two libraries that have received far more than they had it been intended to receive by, you know, a factor, a multi-fold factor. And the sad thing is the city of Sandy and Hoodland that did exactly what they agreed to, exactly what was asked for them. They're basically being told, too bad.
The rules are the rules.
Yeah, even though the rules,
those
for some reason, didn't apply to anybody else in this triumvirate
Yeah.
that was supposedly being handled equitably. Oh, we'll see.
We'll see. It's a bit of a Hail Mary, to be honest.
Yes, it is, but you know,
But it's worth asking.
so that'll be on the 16th, and then Jordan will go with us on the 16th.
And Alex, are you able to make that meeting?
Can you do that?
I don't know if I have the details of what time that meeting is at.
Or
I do have it.
I thought
On-
I sent
Oh,
it
is
to
it
you,
2:30?
but I'll tell you again, just a second.
2:30. No, I do have it. Yeah, it's on my
Okay.
calendar. And where is the meeting located?
It's all the way down in Oregon City, and if you don't mind, we can just carpool together from here. And we can set a meeting time, but it takes almost an hour to get down there.
Yeah, that might be tough for me because I do have a call on Thursdays at 1.
Okay.
But I would still like to be involved somehow. So let me know if I can't make the meeting, how else I can get involved.
We might be able to Zoom.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
We could look into that.
Yeah, if you can Zoom, that'd be fantastic.
For venting. So not very funny. Just, you know, living in Hoodland. Every time I had to do jury, I got a jury calling to go to Oregon City. I was like, I wonder if it was reversed and you go, okay, come on up. Because I've always found people from Portland think it's such a long way to go and then. An hour here, an hour there.
Oh, but Lynn, here's the thing. You need to use the line that I came up with when I lived up in the Bull Run, off of Bull Run Road. And that is, when people came out and, you know, saw me for the first time when I lived up there, it was like, oh my gosh, this is gorgeous and stunning. Right, right. And then time goes by, and then pretty soon it became, wow, you know, I haven't seen you in a while. When are you coming into Portland next, Heather?
Absolutely,
And then I would say, so when are you coming to Sandy? And then, oh, I can't come to Sandy. I mean, oh my gosh, that's so far. And then here's the line. That's right. I totally forgot. It's 3 times as far from Portland to Sandy as it is from Sandy to Portland.
That's a good one. It's funny.
Okay, so that next meeting, maybe we'll be able to report on that one.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you all for that.
Hopefully he'll be
And-
out.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any way to, sweeten the pot with Shoal and Paul before the meeting to kind of, because, Gary's just gonna say whatever. But if all of a sudden he gets an email from, over $20,000 or whatever we're talking about.
Yeah.
Some indication from Paul and Mark would be, helpful.
Message from Commissioner Scholes, which I feel was cut and pasted, impressive.
Hmm.
And ink colors, anyway. The best approach is for you to proceed with Administrator Schmidt as scheduled, and the outcome of that meeting. The outcome of that meeting will have a better idea of potential solutions to the concerns that you identified. And then you're always welcome to attend one of our business meetings, use your few minutes. He was really, to the point you made earlier, he was really stressing at the STR meeting, the importance of citizens coming to the meetings. So, and thank you for your advocacy of our important library system. It was not just not, it was a nice,
Well, and with, when talking with Gary, how can we make this happen?
Yeah.
Kind of put it on him.
Yeah.
This seems like an equity thing, and how can we fix this? Because it would make $20,000 is nothing to you guys, but it's half of, it's a half staff, or it's a huge difference to us. So how can we make this happen? Who do we need to talk to?
Yeah.
What do we need to do? Put the, thing, onus on him to, and then, if he absolutely, if he does say no, just, again, be very kindly and say, well, we're not gonna drop it. We are gonna continue to pursue and, apply pressure because we feel this is an equity issue. And we all would like to be treated equally across the county, as you can imagine, as,
Yeah.
just something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll buy a plane ticket. If you happen to live in Gladstone, you get to fly first class.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah. We could ask for a building. Or you could pay the rent.
I wouldn't talk about the building. The rent.
Yeah. Anyway, it is such a small amount of money.
Yeah.
They turn around and say, I've got $8 million. Really can manage 20,000 a year.
Okay, friends, we have come to the end of our agenda. And anything else that needs to be presented in the next 4 minutes? Okay. So can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:26, please?
I'll move it.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Okay,